Hello everyone, my name is Shark and welcome back to another MS Starman action figure review. This is the Street Fighter 6 1/6 scale Chun-Li by MS Starman, as I've already mentioned. This is the fourth figure. No, it's not the fourth. No, it is the fourth. This is technically the fourth figure that they've made in the line. So far, they've only done Cammy and Chun-Li, both the classic versions for Cammy and Chun-Li, and they also technically did the alpha version for Chun-Li as a separate figure, but that was after the success of the first one. And now we have the Street Fighter 6. I've already taken a look at the Street Fighter 6 Cammy, and now I'm taking a look at the Street Fighter 6 Chun-Li. So without further ado, let's take her out and see how she looks. Alright, so here we have the 1/6 scale Chun-Li, and I gotta say, she looks beautiful. So, just as a quick comparison, here is the Street Fighter 6 Cammy that came out not too long ago as well, earlier this summer. It does seem that Cammy is still quite a bit taller than Chun-Li, which makes sense. And then here is the original first Starman Chun-Li that technically was not a Chun-Li figure until they actually got the license to do them. So yeah, you can see the face sculpts are actually quite different. The buns in this one are magnetic, and it doesn't seem that the ones over here are magnetic in this instance. They're just fully sculpted, which is perfectly fine. I don't think that's an issue there. So let me put these to the side real quick, and then let's focus on the main prize here. So when it comes to Chun-Li herself, this is her Street Fighter 6 outfit, and I gotta say it's one of the most beautifully, not sculpted, but kind of like cloth outfits I've seen in a while. Absolutely love that it's pure cloth. And let me get a higher angle for this figure because it's going to be needed. So yeah, I very much like the way that she looks. The face is definitely, in my opinion, a lot prettier than the original Starman Chun-Li. And it's not saying that the original one does not good. It was, but I think this one is just so much better, and it does capture her look from Street Fighter 6 a lot more than, let's say, like the Street Fighter Classic or Street Fighter 2 look from the first Starman figure. But no, it looks beautiful. The eyes are very well made. The texture on the actual hair looks fantastic, and I like that for the Chun-Li they actually do like texture sculpted hair, and that's pretty much it. I don't necessarily like the Cammy one where it's actual just tethered strings in hair and everything that's of that sort. The little earrings are beautifully painted. There is like a nice little amount of blush in the actual figure. It might not be as noticeable, but the makeup is also beautiful. The lips are beautifully painted. Everything about this figure is fantastic, and of course she does have a massive dump truck, as you can see, that is being covered there. So there's another thing that you can do with this figure, but I'll get into that in the accessory section, which is perfectly fine. So again, aesthetically wise, this figure is really good. So I definitely do like it. Now, when it comes to the articulation, we know the limitations of the Fison body right here for these type of figures. She does have a very womanly figure, which is really nice. So for the neck, you can definitely use it if you wanted to. You just kind of have to maneuver it a little bit. It might be actually easier with this figure since it is fully covered with like clothing instead of like bare body parts or bare naked parts. So you can look down about that far with the figure with the neck, not using the diaphragm or anything, which is nice. Pushing it up, also a decent amount, not too bad right there. So very good articulation for a 1/6 scale. I think this is actually good articulation for the 1/6 scale figures, because a lot of them are very much limited, especially like the Hot Toys figures. Those are much more expensive, and a lot of people are afraid of actually damaging them when moving them. But for this one, it's a little bit more affordable at like the 200 price point instead of like the 300 and higher price point, and it's slightly lower than 300, of course. But she can look side to side very easily. Of course, she does have kind of like a peg for the actual neck, as you see there. She does have movable eyes. For the arms, you can get them higher than a T-pose, which is really good. Just be careful with stretching the actual body itself. You can get them to go all the way up, which is beautiful. That's fantastic. Now, you could rotate them 360 degrees, but I will not suggest that because you're just going to be twisting the actual plastic. So, going forward about that far, without me fully rotating it, and going backwards about that far, especially since I do not want to break any of the actual face and body right there. So again, these are just very high-end collectibles that you want to take care of. She technically does have a bicep swivel that I'll be using in just a second, but for the elbow joint, she does have an elbow joint that you can use functionably, and you can twist it around as well with that bicep joint. You could theoretically try using the bicep joint by itself, but it's not going to come to a lot of success. So you might want to use the elbow joint to kind of rotate it a little bit and then posing back the elbow joint itself. Do be careful because the elbow joint is very sharp inside of the figure. Not as sharp as you might actually think, but it would be sharp enough to actually puncture if you stress the face and body too much. And we do have a ball peg for the hand that you can use to kind of move it around here and there. So it's a very limited range, but you do get enough hands to actually make up that range of motion. For the abdomen or the torso, the diaphragm, just using the diaphragm, you can go forward this far and backwards this far. And with the ab crunch, about this far backwards, which is really nice. And then this far forward, which is also really nice. And I think, yeah, I've been doing it with the wrong lighting. Well, I'll do with this lighting for now. It's still bright in the day. So very nice movement with the ab crunch. She actually does have an insane amount of ab crunch. These figures are just fantastic. For the pivoting action, you can pivot side to side. Just again, be careful while you move it. Think of it as a really expensive Barbie doll. Kind of. Not really, but yeah, you get what I mean. For the legs, she does do the splits pretty well. She can actually get perfect splits. Just again, be careful while moving it. Pretty perfect right there. And with the fabric, also be careful with it. This one actually seems to be a lot looser fabric. As you can see, there's a lot more wrinkles right there. So there seems to actually have been a little bit of improvement in that situation. Now, kicking forward, actually you can kick very far forward or very high with this figure, which is really nice, especially for a face and body. She technically does have a thigh swivel, but does not necessarily function that well. We do have a jointed knee and a foot peg that goes backwards this far and forwards this far. Now, kicking backwards, that's something I forgot to mention. She can actually kick backwards, even though she does have that giant dump truck in the back. She can kick pretty far backwards, which is really nice. Again, just be careful in stressing the actual material for the figure. So yeah, there is the articulation. I wanted to go a little bit faster with this one, so I didn't want to spend too much time here because we've already kind of experienced this figure before. It's just the look is a little bit different. So now let's move on into the accessories because we do have like the exact same amount of accessories as previous figures. Alright, so for the hand accessories, we do have just the same three pairs that we've had. We have kind of like the karate chop hands, and I gotta say, these hands are actually very well made because of the actual, give me 1 second. Whoop. Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. There you go. So the actual, like, plastic, or sorry, the nails painted there actually does give it a lot of life, and I'm glad that they actually painted them. Although I do think that the material used for this, they probably should have painted it to match the actual face and body instead, because these are a completely different color from the feet as well. Like you can kind of see they're completely different. So Just a little bit of inconsistencies there, but we do have the karate chop hands. We have the splayed out fighting pose hands, or when she's about to attack. And these are very soft, like rubber soft, so don't be afraid of actually like putting a little bit of pressure on them. And we of course have a pair of fists, which is really nice. And we also have a section for a bikini. So it technically is part of the figure. It was like hidden right here on the actual figure skirt, or on the the bottom section of the figure. So when I put her down and everything to stand up, this just fell out, and it was really funny. I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't record it, but it was a funny moment. But yeah, you can swap this out. I'm not going to show how to swap it out because I have shown how to swap things out in the other Chun-Li video, so if you want to check that out, go ahead. But yeah, that's pretty much everything this figure comes with. So going into my final thoughts, this figure is fantastic. I have had no issue with any of these Starman figures, which is a good thing because these are a pretty penny, depending on what you're actually wanting from the figure. I think this figure is more than sufficient for what you're actually getting. So as a final score, I am going to have to give it a perfect 10 out of 10 because I see no flaws with the figure. Well, besides the minor flaw of the hands not matching perfectly, but I actually don't see that as that big of a deal because most of the time you're not going to be focusing on it, and depending on the lighting that you have, it's not going to be as noticeable. So I think a perfect 10 out of 10. I wouldn't say perfect, it's just a 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10 score. But yeah, that's pretty much all the time I have for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about this figure. Do you like it? Do you not like it? I would love to know that in the comments below. But besides that, like and subscribe and all that sort of jazz. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.